It's just streaming and recording the YouTube. Yeah.
Not able to hear it yet. Test, test. Test, test. Good. So we're rolling? All right. You got it? All right. All right. Excellent. Good afternoon. All right. Awesome. Yeah. Well, it's Friday afternoon, so it's a little bit of a struggle time slot. So I appreciate y'all joining. We are recording because we know not everyone's able to make it. We actually have, first of all, it's Friday, so we have some PTO. This is our third all hands meeting this week as we try to tackle all pieces of public works. And so even from folks from the prior couple sessions who have not been able to attend, this is the only one that we're recording. So I will try to make this available to folks. So let me just real quick see who we have in here. We have, raise your hand if you're from Transportation Division. All right, thank you. LDO. All right, thank you. Engineering. All right. Stormwater. Excellent. Admin, Public Works admin. Couple hands. Okay. All right. Okay. We'll take it. And I think we just had a couple of folks from our finance admin team join us in the back. Any other parts of Public Works that I didn't just mention that joined us, just so I'm aware, so I can make sure I hit on things for you. Don't be shy. Okay. All right. We will go with that then. It's always a challenge to hit all our different audiences with these meetings, but hopefully all know me by now. I am still your interim Public Works Administrator. Ariel said he's sure that I will miss you all. Ross will join officially next Friday. So in case you're counting the days like I am. But I told Ariel that I'm not going anywhere. So, and neither are you, hopefully. So I will be, I've said this before, but I'll be shoulder to shoulder with Ross as long as he'll have me shoulder to shoulder with him until he kicks me out of the way. And then we'll go from there. But I I did want to mention, I know this probably isn't as applicable to this group, but I am available for office hours on Mondays from 3 to 4 in the Paul Clark building. But um, if y'all want some time with me, just let me know. I'm happy to set up some time with y'all here as well. Um, Here's what I was hoping to cover today. Um, Really wanted to briefly look at the past year. That'll just be for a minute. I did want to spend the bulk of today on the budget. So we have proposed the budget to council. That's in the middle of getting voted on. Uh, but really specifically, what does it mean for public works? So I wanted to spend some time on that. And then a little bit of time about what's next. And then a little bit of time on recognition. And rather than just saving the questions for the end, my hope is that we can hit some questions um, throughout these different sections. So get ready to raise your hand and interject as we go here. So I'd like to start with our values: serve others with urgency, treat others with dignity and respect, be a problem solver, do the right thing. It's what we're striving toward and trying to get better at these every day. All right, the last year, some of y'all, if you could silence your phones, that'd be great. Some of y'all might remember it was about a year ago, last summer, that the mayor came to all hands meetings, and part of that was sharing a 1 year plan. And so that was about a year ago. It doesn't feel like it's been that long, but it has been. And so I wanted to do a quick look back because we're about to do a new 1 year plan. And so my kids just got done with their school year. I thought I'd do a quick report card for us. There might be disagreement about this grade that I'm about to give us, but I gave us a B. And I'll just speak to a little bit about the why. And on the left here, you can see some of the what I feel like went well, and on the right hand side, a little bit of the what I feel like could have gone better. And again, we can talk about this a little bit, but in terms of what has gone well this past year, that was, again, this is based on what was on our 1 year plan. Okay. I do feel like we have increased communication and accountability. Does that mean it's where it needs to be? No. But do I feel like we've made progress there? Yes. Last summer, we put back in place performance reviews. We're about to kick back into that again. So look for that. Not here in this building, but at Paul Clark, we did put in place message boards, screens that are communicating important messages to our teams that don't have access to email regularly. So that's been a big step forward there. Had a lot of surveys. We'll talk about that more here in a minute. Where those have fallen short, we've done some focus groups. I think that's actually been pretty effective. We've done these office hours I mentioned. So there's been again, not perfect, not where we need to be, but there has been a lot of attempts around communication and accountability there. Problem solving, from all that communication, we have had quite a bit of problems that have come up, which is a good thing. And we've tried to tackle some of those. So again, citywide services, we had some issues around garbage rotations. That we've tackled and made some improvements. Work for some divisions here. There was a expressed desire around work from home. Frankly, it took us longer than I would have liked to figure that policy out and to start getting that implemented. But we have that in place finally. That is getting rolled out on a pilot basis. We're making some progress there. We have made some progress in terms of some of our vacancies. You can see this shows up on both sides here. There's other spots, other divisions where we haven't done a good enough job in terms of filling some vacancies. But Moccasin Bend, which is no longer a part of Public Works, but for half the year it was, very successful hiring fair. very successful hiring fair out at Citywide Services to fill some vacancies. So, this coming year, we're going to have a strong focus with some of our other divisions around some of these positions that we need to give some more focus to. So, and some of the other problems you'll see on the next slide, we're trying to address through some budget adjustments. So we'll talk about that a little bit more on the next slide. Around safety, we've made some adjustments there. We added a position back at Citywide Services. We a lot of our safety issues in Public Works are in that particular division, where we no longer had a safety position, and that was a huge miss, frankly. So we added that position back, and we have seen safety incidents go down there after adding that position. So that's actually been some good movement there. We've had a lot of attention in this building, a lot of conversation around safety. Certainly, no one's declaring victory, but I think the study that was done, communicating around that, those of you that have volunteered to participate in those conversations and helping prioritize the action items, really appreciate each of you who've participated in that. I think we're making steps in the right direction in terms of some of those things. And also bringing some police officers to City Hall that can come back and forth as needed. And just generally, we set a lot of goals for this year, from potholes to road paving. We changed up our brush bulk leaf program, which was a big change from 311 based to zone based. I think that actually went over pretty well, all things considered. And LDO specific, we put in place a new survey. And that's actually, I think, been a positive thing. So we have accomplished quite a bit this year. That's on the positive side. On the what could have gone better side, we definitely had a lot of challenges in terms of that garbage rotation I mentioned when we started it. Didn't go so well, made the news. I had to do a lot of time trying to clean that up. So no pun intended. A big goal we had for this year was more cross training across all divisions, and that fell very short. So we were going to have a skills matrix completed across all teams in terms of skills and what the cross training plan was going to be, and we just didn't get there. So that one is definitely going to be on the 1-year plan for this year. So look for that because that was a miss. And for some of our surveys, Citywide Services just wasn't able to participate at a very high level. So that was a definite shortcoming. I mentioned the hard to fill vacancies. I'll also mention turnover. At the end of the day, I think all turnover is hard, right? Operationally, because whenever we lose somebody, people have to cover for that person until we fill it, if we can fill it. And that creates a challenge on, y'all. And that's hard. But in the grand scheme of things, there's such thing as good turnover and bad turnover. Good turnover is it's a retirement, so that's great. Happy for that person. Or it's a promotion. That's great. Happy for that person, right? Bad turnover is turnover that is for less good reasons, right? But all of that is challenging headwinds for us, for sure. And we definitely had some of that really, really challenging turnover, especially in some spaces like LDO, that created some real hard challenges for us this year. And we did have some missed goals, and some I've already hit vacancies a lot, but around budget, we had some areas, especially Citywide Services, around overtime and inflationary pressures, around fuel, around other items like transfer station costs, things like that, that really challenged us. Fleet is pretty over budget as well. Concrete, anything related to concrete is challenging and behind schedule. And just the other thing I'll just mention is some of the change that we'd like to see happening is just slow. It's slow and a bit behind schedule. Not all of it, but some of it. So that's the very fast 1 year look back. Give us a B. Um, Not sure if y'all feel like that's fair, but that's how I would assess the past year. Thoughts, questions, concerns? Yes, ma'am.
You said the brush bulk leaf program was changed from a 311 base to a zone base.
Yep.
What does that mean?
What that means is it used to be that a resident would put out some brush clippings or bulk trash or leaf, and then they would use the 311 app or call 311, and then we would come within a certain amount of time to pick it up. And oftentimes we would only pick up that person's stuff, even if there was other stuff on that street, which would very much frustrate other people on that street. And so we decided to change that and do it on a schedule base and say we're going to sweep that whole street once a month.
Okay, so when I put out brush for you to pick up, I don't need to go to 311 and report it anymore.
That's correct. You don't have, you don't, there's, yeah,
It's gonna be sitting out there for a
it's going to be sitting there.
Is it on the website anywhere? Do I know when?
Yes, the schedule is posted on the website. Yep, the schedule is posted on the website, and so it's going to sit there a little bit longer, for sure. But if you can kind of see when it's going to be, you can time when you put it out a little bit. And I'll say that, I mean, generally speaking, we've gotten less complaints about it sitting there. Bulk trash is a little bit tougher, frankly. People don't like seeing a mattress sitting out on the side of the road for very long. So that one's one that we still need to solve for a little bit. But the other items sitting there for a little bit longer haven't caused the kind of negative feedback that we get compared to, hey, the driver's passing by all these other people who have stuff sitting there, but they didn't call 311. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Now, I don't think that's the end solution. I'm going down a rabbit trail, y'all. So anyway, but I don't think that's the end solution. And I'll go ahead to the next slide in terms of the budget and what it means for us. And this, I'll come back to the people side, but on the equipment, facilities, and infrastructure, on the right-hand side, you can see this new routing system, Rubicon. So for our garbage trucks, recycling trucks, this new routing system will actually allow our garbage and recycling drivers to flag when they see leaf pile, brush pile, bulk trash pile, and from that we can create smart routes, basically. And so my hope is that we can actually get to a place with this new routing system where we can have smart routes and still not require 311 call-ins, but be able to get to these things faster than once a month would be my hope. So more to come on that. All right, getting ahead of myself. So now onto the stuff you all probably care about a little bit more. Budget impact. So two halves to the side, people and other stuff. So I'll start with the people. Step plan. So this one is important, and I want to take some time here, and then we'll take questions and make sure folks are understanding this well. You know, fire, police, they have a step plan. Wastewater had a step plan that was implemented back in the fall. So this is a step plan essentially for everybody else. And I understand that we used to have a step plan a decade plus ago, wasn't always funded. And so that's some baggage we have to deal with here. So understand that. We have modeled this out. We feel good about committing to this. So we are putting this in place and we are committing to it. So the way that I'll talk a little bit about how it's getting implemented, and then I'll talk a little bit about what it means on a go forward basis, because not all step plans are created equal, right? So in terms of how it's getting implemented, and this mentions it on here, it's getting implemented differently for hourly employees than salaried employees, okay? So for hourly employees, folks are getting placed on the step plan based on years of service at the city, okay? Not years of service in your position. Because years of service in your position was how the pay study did it a couple years ago. This is trying to help solve for the fact that that was a bit of a shortcoming. So this time it's based on years of service at the city, okay? So generally speaking, if you're an hourly employee and you've been at the city for a while, this is going to come out generally favorable for you. Okay. Um, and the other thing I'll mention is that the details of this will be shared with you over the next couple weeks. I would say by July 1, you will have a meeting with your supervisor who's going to sit down, and the supervisors, y'all should get trained on this in the next couple weeks. Okay. And really at the end of the day, the supervisor will be able to say, hey, here's what this is. And everyone's going to get a letter that says, here's what's happening. Okay. So that's not happening today. I don't have that detail for you. But generally speaking, over 2/3 of our hourly employees are going to have more than a 4% pay increase, probably because more than 2/3 of our hourly employees have been here for a while, right? So that's generally how it's going to work for our hourly employees. For our salaried employees, folks are getting placed based on where their salary currently is, and then a 2-step increase. Okay. Each step is a roughly 1%. So that equates to roughly a 2% increase. uh, the we're going to look at whether we can next year for our salaried employees do something similar as what we're doing with our hourly this year in terms of can we place folks based on years of service next year for our salaried, but we just didn't have enough money to do everything this year. It just would have been too expensive. So starting with hourly this year, we hope to be able to get to our salaried folks next year. Okay. So that's generally how people are getting placed. More details over the next few weeks in terms of what that specifically looks like for you. It is not a 1-to-1. It's not 1% for every year of service. It's not that straightforward, unfortunately. That would be nice, but it's not. All right. So just wait to see how it all comes out. In terms of how it's going to work going forward, I want to be clear that this is not the Hamilton County Department of Education step plan. Okay. This is not, I show up and punch the clock and get my 1 step every year. Okay. So there will be a performance component to this on a go forward basis in terms of how I progress through my steps. We don't know exactly what that looks like yet. Okay. So I'm working with the HR team to figure out exactly what that looks like. It's not going to be completely baked for meaning running on all cylinders for this next year. What I would expect is what I call a crawl, walk, run kind of approach. Okay. So for next year, it's going to be some very simple version of that. And hopefully for the following year, we can have a fully, thought through better version of that. But this is really based on feedback from our employees through all the surveys we've done where our team members are saying, we don't really like the fact that we are not holding our lower performing employees accountable. And so this will be a way to do that. The goal is, hey, if you are killing it, doing a great job, you should be able to get more than a 1 or 2 step increase. It'd be great to get a 3 or 4 step increase. That would be wonderful. And if you're not doing very much, then maybe you don't get any kind of increase, right? And so that is the goal. But in terms of how that works, what that looks like for next year, we've got some details to work out over the course of the summer. My goal would be by the end of the summer to be able to communicate out to everyone. Here's how that would play itself out over the next year, so people know what we're rowing towards there. I think that is those are the highlights for the step plan. Um, what questions do y'all have? Yes, ma'am.
Regarding performance reviews,
Yeah.
the way they have been set up in the past discourages managers from giving staff members a 5.
Mhm.
So it's closer to a 1, 2, 3, 4 scale than a 1, 2, 3, 5 scale.
Mhm.
Can management take a look at correcting that?
Yeah. So for the back, this is a very specific question. So thank you. And it's partially because y'all actually did performance reviews last summer. So you're going to have more advanced questions about this than other departments, frankly. But the question was, hey, the way it's been done in the past, it kind of discouraged leaders from giving a 5. I would also argue not many ones are probably given out. And so I actually talked about this with our HR leaders yesterday, is that we have to be thoughtful about just the human nature of how do we really how can we be fair? How can we really give a 5 if a 5 is warranted and a 1 if a 1's warranted, and not have everybody be a 3. I had an all hands meeting with some of our engineering team. I forget where y'all sat. Is it that back corner there? Yes. Y'all sat in the back corner together. So I got to stand back here so I don't get chopped off with the video. Sorry. Yeah, thanks. So, and with that conversation, a couple of those guys came from state of Tennessee, state of Georgia, and they made a great point. And they said, hey, not human nature, but those systems, everyone basically got a 3, because it was almost impossible. It was too much work to give someone a 1 or a 2 because you basically had to performance manage them or fire them. To give them a 5 was impossible. To give them a 4 was a lot of paperwork and had to go up through all these chains of command, and no one ever got, so basically everyone got a 3, right? So if we go through all this process to set up the system and everyone gets a 3 and everyone gets the same step anyway, what's the point, right? So look, this is not, I'm not, we're not naive enough to think that this is easy. This is not easy, and it will not be perfect. But I want y'all to know that we know that, and that we're going to try really dang hard. We're not going to get it perfect the first go. We will iterate, and we will take your feedback, and we will try to get better. We will, what's important to know is that we will need layers of calibration. Okay. We will also need to get more clarity, top to bottom, on what does good look like. Okay. Because if we're all shooting in the dark, then it all becomes arbitrary, right? So from top to bottom, division to division, team to team, we got to get more clarity on what does good look like. And then we can have a more fair conversation. And then we have to have good calibration at different layers of the organization around, well, is that person really a 4? Is that person really a 2? And let's be fair about it, right? So we will do our best. We will not get it perfect out of the gate. And we will crawl, walk, run. But I do think that the right place to be is if a high performer, a person who's doing a great job, can get a 4 or 5 step increase, that's right. And the person who's slacking off, doing a terrible job, gets no steps, that's right. And we got to figure out how to land there. And I'd like to figure out how to do that. So, yeah, Ariel.
Just an observation about the arbitrariness of that benchmark you're looking for is one of the things you have to do to set that.
Yeah.
Benchmark is to have a tiered position description, right? Because it gives you minimum qualifications.
Yep.
You bring them in,
Mhm.
but then they have this mountain of stuff to do.
Yep.
And we should be able, with our managers, to create low, medium, high.
Mhm.
So that way the managers have a scale with which to work from.
Mhm.
We don't have that.
Yeah. There's a lot of layers to this. And there's also, I think of it as, anyway, let's not, we got a lot to work through here, but yes, I think, again, we're not looking to implement anything on the performance side tomorrow. We're going to go through pretty much a normal performance, what you went through last year for your performance reviews again this summer with some small tweaks. But citywide, we will be looking at some kind of approach figuring that out over the course of this next, several months. So, yes, ma'am. I don't know why you're asking that question. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say that no errors are possible, but there's always the possibility. So be vigilant, pay attention. We'll do the best we can. Y'all do the best you can, and we'll figure it out. So, yes. I would love that. I'm doing 2.5 jobs right now. That would be great. Yeah. No, I yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we can take it. We can look at it. Okay. Other thoughts? Yes. Yeah. So the question is this separate from cost of living adjustments? And what's important to know about cost of living is that will tend to move the scale, right? So the step plan will progress you through your pay plan. And if we do a cost of living adjustment, it will move the whole plan. Does that make sense? And so we will also have to figure out how to keep looking at cost of living adjustments as well. That will be, frankly, less relevant to some of you lower on the pay scale and more relevant to some of you higher on the pay scale who might be starting to get topped out with the pay scale. And so we will also be looking in the future at cost of living in addition to the steps, I think, so that we keep some room at the top end of the scales for folks to be able to continue stepping and have some room there. So that will have to continue to be part of the equation. Okay, let's keep going. Medical benefits. I want to make sure to mention this. Unfortunately, this isn't a surprise to folks that healthcare costs continue to go up. Blue Cross Blue Shield comes back and says premiums have to go up, right? That shouldn't be too much of a surprise, unfortunately. What I do want to, explain to y'all is that there's a couple things going on here. One is that typically we have gone July to June in terms of our plan year for our benefits, and that is shifting. All right. So right now, what we just had our passive enrollment for is July to December. Okay. So it's like a half year. And then we're going to be going from January to December on a go forward basis. Okay. So we're doing a half year right now. That'll start in July. And then we'll do a full year starting in January. Okay. So for this half year starting in July, Blue Cross Blue Shield came back and said, you need to have a premium increase. And so I just want to let you all know that the way healthcare insurance premiums work, the city, the employer pays 80%. I'm going to use rough round numbers, okay? The city pays 80% of the health insurance premium. The employee pays 20%, okay? Rough numbers. And so Blue Cross Blue Shield said both the city and the employee needs to have a health insurance premium increase in July. And the city said, well, we will pay the employee portion in July so that the employees don't have a premium increase in July. So the city took that on. so that no one has a premium increase in July. And Blue Cross unfortunately also said, come January, you also will need another increase. And so that one we could not continue to take on and keep that 80-20 split. And so that one, both the city as the employer and the employee are getting a 6% increase. Okay. So what that means is come January, all of our premiums are going to go up, and it's going to depend on what kind of coverage you have. So I have the range here. It depends, if it's just you and you have the cheapest insurance that we have, it's $1.23 per paycheck. If it's you plus your spouse plus your kids and you have the most expensive insurance that we offer, it's $12.53 a paycheck. Okay, so that's the range that you could expect come January. Does that make sense? Okay, just wanted to explain that. It's time to plan for that. But
So to be clear, our medical benefits are going to go to calendar year 24, which will be off base from our fiscal year.
correct. That's right. Okay. Any questions on that? Yes, sir. That's just medical. That's correct. That's correct. That's just medical. Yeah. Okay. These other things we don't need to spend a lot of time on. You can read the slide. We are adding some more garbage recycling drivers because they're running overtime all the time and having to pull drivers from elsewhere to make it happen. I would, as we look to this coming year, frankly, this past year I've spent a lot of time in citywide services personally, so I got to see this firsthand. This coming year, we're going to take a similar close look with LDO. So expect some, if we need to make some adjustments from a staffing perspective with LDO for this coming year, we'll see what the future holds. So similarly, some temp agency adjustments for some litter and other garbage slinger support. I did want to mention this one. This actually was an idea that came out of the engineering group, and we're implementing it citywide. We are going to have a new cost savings incentive program. So what this means is if you have an idea, and I should have said this, all this depends on city council passing the budget. Okay. So we have proposed all this stuff. All right. And y'all know this, right? The mayor puts forward a budget. City council has to approve it. We're 2 votes away from city council approving it. I wouldn't be sharing all this with you if I didn't think that it was going to happen. Okay. I think it's going to happen, but that's a caveat, right? Like they have to approve it over the next couple weeks. But anyway, so this still has to be approved, but they're pretty supportive of this one for sure. They like this idea that if y'all have an idea of how the city could save $50,000 and you submit it and we look at it, we agree with it, we implement it, and we think the city is going to save $50,000, that you get a percentage of that back as a reward. I'm pretty excited about that. And so anyway, that is something that's coming. The other thing I want to mention at the bottom of this is that we are making some organizational changes where the GIS team, as of July 1st, will be shifting over to technology services. They will not be sacrificing any service to Public Works, so I don't want y'all, worried about that. We will stay focused on the service that needs to be delivered here, as well as Moccasin Bend, and so on and so forth. We just feel that there are great partnership opportunities there within technology services that can continue to grow what the GIS team can do. So I did want to mention that. And coming in will be code enforcement, so to LDO. So I think that might have been the case in the past at one point, but they won't be physically coming into the building, so don't worry about that. But we will be putting them under the same umbrella. Okay. On the right-hand side, again, I'm not going to hit all of this because not all of it is relevant specifically to y'all. But there's a lot of dollars on the right-hand side here that is public works dollars. So, um, there's we are in the capital budget. There's dollars to finish out the wood recycle location down in Nicola. A lot of a good chunk of money in the capital budget for facilities maintenance. And one of those things I'll just highlight is actually renovating the city hall annex. The city hall annex doesn't have a working elevator. It is just, it's a sad building, y'all. It's a sad building. So, um, we are going to fix the elevator. We are going to renovate the fourth floor so that we can actually use it. And we are going to exit the Edney and stop running space in the Edney and move folks into um, the annex. And
About where DTX is located right now.
that's right.
Yeah, it's sad.
No, DTS has some space in there, yes, but yes. So anyway, that is something that it'll be about a 2-year project there, but anyway, that's in this 4.5 million, as well as a lot of other buildings that we just need to look after. Frankly, that number could be a lot higher in terms of facilities maintenance. We have 80-ish buildings, Dennis, something like that are way behind in terms of maintenance. We're doing a lot of facilities assessments right now. So over the next year or so, year to 2 years, we're going to have a much better idea about what that number should be. But maintenance is just, something we got to get more focused on. Obviously, a lot of dollars in here for bridges. I know Katie wish it was more. Wish it was more for bridges, but there's some decent projects in here, as well as roads and so on. So, $26 million on the right hand side, which is quite a bit of money. So, questions about what else is on this page? Yeah, Josh.
Can you explain how the code enforcement is going to work in LDO? And is that going to be like a direct report to Dallas?
Yeah, so Donna Castile and her team, Donna will report to Dallas. And how it will work, I'm not 100% sure. We'll figure that out between among friends. But at the end of the day, we have a lot of confusion outside of LDO and code enforcement in terms of, hey, I've got this code related thing and I don't know where to go with it. I don't know if it goes to LDO in Dallas or if it goes over here to Donna and her team. And that comes from council. It comes from from residents. It comes from all kinds of angles. And so to have that all kind of under one leader and one place, at least organizationally, just seems to make a lot of sense. And so from there we can figure the rest out probably. So that's the rationale behind it. Other questions?
So on the Wilcox Bridge with this investment, will the city then be taking ownership of the structure that's going to go there?
Katie can answer that better than me. This is a humongous multi-year project. This is just this year's contribution. And I mean, there's a huge federal amount of money contributed to this, but Katie, do you want to? Ultimately, how many years? 2031. Yeah, we got a lot of work to do on that project. So. Yeah. It's a very complex project. How many spans of railroad line is underneath there? 18 or something crazy? Yeah. I think we're building the bridge beside the current bridge, right? Yeah. Disruption. Yeah. Yeah. You really don't want to disrupt the rail yard underneath. Yeah.
Is the yard access gonna continue to come off Wilcox?
Yeah. It's a monster. So, all right. Any other questions on this before we keep going? I feel like I'm way behind time here. Okay. We gotta keep rolling here. All right. What's next? Should have brought coffee for this. Okay. I did want to hit on the pulse surveys. I'll get up and stretch here a little bit. All right. Pulse surveys. So y'all have done, maybe not all of you, but some of you have, a good portion of you have done pulse surveys. These were we had 12 weeks, 2 surveys a week. Appreciate those of you who participated. I wanted to flash up here the results. We just met in the last couple weeks with the vendor to look at these results. I have a lot of thoughts here in terms of the surveys and the vendor themselves, but I did want to share with y'all some of what this looks like. What's interesting is how it was set up. It kind of lumps all of the DRC together, so it wasn't broken out, unfortunately, by engineering and stormwater and LDO and so on and so forth. So we have DRC and we have traffic ops kind of as a building. We have Paul Clark Paul Clark as a building is fine, but anyway, it's so that's kind of interesting. But I'll just interpret these results a little bit for you so you can understand what they mean. I'll start with participation. That's the easiest. So you can see here, 55, 56% participation from the groups that are generally here today. So pretty strong participation. I'll contrast that with the Paul Clark building. Paul Clark participation was about 20%. So much lower. And frankly, a lot of the reason for doing the survey was more for Paul Clark, because that's where I was trying to get a better sense of what was going on, because that workforce anyway, more of the target. But anyway, y'all did a great job. Folks who have more technology access tended to have higher participation. Shocking, right? So in terms of the scale here, the scale kind of goes for each of these dials from -100 to +100. Okay. So anything -100 to 0 is obviously bad. Nothing here is showing there. 0 to 100 is better. 0 to 50 is basically okay. 50 to 100 is great, right? So, or at least really good. Knowledge is your knowledge about your job, how good you feel about that. Motivation is pretty self-explanatory. Organization is how you feel about the culture, so to speak. And then the far right-hand side is net promoter score, which is how likely you are to recommend your job to other people. Okay. So, what you can see from this is, generally folks in the DRC scoring a little bit lower than folks actually at the traffic ops building, which is kind of interesting. Interestingly, I think our traffic ops and fleet were our highest scores, which is kind of interesting. So there's a lot of comments to dig into here. We've just given access to each of the divisional leaders to go in and dig into. There's a lot of subcategories we can dig into. So we're going to spend some more time digging into that, looking more at the comments. I'll say, as like looking across all of Public Works, frankly, not a lot of different themes than what we saw from the engagement survey back in the fall, which is probably, maybe not that surprising. But, what I'm taking away from this and we'll be talking about as a leadership team in terms of how we can do this a little bit as for each division, is these three things: communication. How can we have more transparent communication, more regular, more authentic? Recognition and feedback. Um, we talked about how performance reviews will be coming again, so that will be something, not exactly the same thing. We will be starting something called growth and feedback conversations. We're going to do as Public Works as a part of our performance reviews, probably. It'll be some of this as well in terms of feedback, but we need to do more than just these things. So more to come there. Training, I mentioned that was a thing we had planned more of this year and we just came up short. So we need to really zero in there. But some of the feedback that y'all provided was also around supervisors and above, getting more training around leadership and management. So we'll continue to dig in there. We did something last week at Paul Clark that was pretty good with HR, and we'll probably be looking at doing that at some more divisions as well. So those are some things that we're doing specifically, but again, we're going to keep going deeper. I did want to share something we're doing specifically with citywide services. I'm not sure if this will make sense with other divisions or not, but I wanted to mention it in case people are like, oh yeah, that's great, we should do that elsewhere. Because the survey participation was so low there, and the focus groups tended to yield better information, we kind of said, okay, well, let's do more focus groups, but let's make it more structured and institutionalize it a little bit more. And so what we're doing is something called employee roundtable, and we're going to essentially there be looking for 10 employees and getting some making sure they're representative from each of the sections at citywide services. They'll meet once a month. We'll have rotating topics, and it'll be two-way conversation, right? Whatever we talk about there, we'll ask them to share back with their section, and then they can get ideas for the next month from their section, bring it back to the roundtable, and back and forth, right? Not rocket science, but at first blush, the group seemed to like that idea better than more surveys. So we're going to try that, kick that off late June, early July, see how it goes, and go from there. So we'll see how that goes. If others are interested in something similar in other divisions, we can kick that around as well. All right. Any questions before I go into recognition and wrap this up and get us out of here on a Friday? All right. Can you all read that? Okay. So one of the good things around Paul's survey is that people could enter. It had this one question. It said, who would you like to recognize? And it was anonymous, right? Because the survey is anonymous. So we don't know who put these names in. But this has been fun to do at each of these all hands meetings, is to, kind of put in here of the group that's going to be here, some of the names that were put in to the survey. So some of them have comments in as well, and we'll just go around and give you all some recognition, if that's cool. So Andrew Hutzel, we have you here. Are you here? Andrew, awesome. Let's give Andrew some recognition. Awesome. All right, someone else that folks want to recognize, Blake Easterly. We have Blake here. No, he's off. Dang it. All right. Well, anyway, this person said that Blake makes a good effort, is learning fast, good work ethic, generally goes above and beyond the standard job duties for the citizens and for the city. So that's awesome. All right. Do we have Bonnie here? Stand up, Bonnie. Can you stand up? Okay. She's not going to stand up. All right. Awesome. All right. This is a lot of names. So maybe these folks can all stand up at once. Carrie, Matt, Brian, Kyle, Travis, Richard, James, Brian, James, Jason, Jordan, Dwayne, Jamie, and John. Y'all here? All right. All right. I think someone just listed like all their friends, but that's awesome. Casey Dell. we have Casey here. Oh, never mind. Dennis Malone. All right. Jedrick Brown. We have Jedrick here. He had to go to work. All right. Leslie Haynes. We have Leslie here. All right. Santa Bone. I think I saw Santa back there. All right. Says she was doing 4 jobs for a while, so I appreciate you, Santa. Matt Cooper. All right. Elizabeth. I think Elizabeth is probably still out, isn't she? All right. Yeah. Greg Harold, 2 times. Going to read this one. Makes a point each day to go well above and beyond expectations in his role and help those around him. He's invaluable. He is very knowledgeable and helpful. So that's awesome. Jeremy Swelly, 2 times. Shown outstanding leadership and courage. John Holzer. All right, Justin Strickland. Does a great job and helps everybody around here. Katie Snyder. All right, Kendra Yates. I don't think she's in there with that. City needs more managers like her. Rachel Cox. Tara Ellis. All right, last and certainly not least, Bill Payne. And for those of you who don't know, Bill's been struggling a little bit this week. He's got his father is not doing well, so keep him in your thoughts and prayers. And that's why he's not. He was supposed to be at the beach this week, but you know, life throws you a curveball. So anyway, definitely keep him in your thoughts. All right, y'all. I think that's all I had. Oh, I had this one last thing. Y'all don't always see all these. I mean, we don't get that many of these things, but when we do, I figure we would share them. So this one came in, and this is a little card that just says Department of Public Works, you all rock. Cannot thank you all enough for everything you've done, are doing on my street. Looks like it's Chamberlain Avenue. You all make this city a safer and better place. I want to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so grateful and appreciative of your persistence and diligent work. Thank you. I think that what can be really tough for so many folks on our team is that this work can be so thankless. And often what you do does make our city better, and it just goes unrecognized. So just wanted to say thank you to everybody. So anything else, any questions, anything else that y'all wanted to hit on before we cut you loose? All right, thank you. Oh, yes, sir. Not that loose. Not that loose. All right. Thank you all so much. Have a good one.